Hey guys, happy weekend. I hope that everyone is enjoying their nice 3-day weekend so far. So let's go ahead and get to business so we can get you guys done with this and back to your awesome time off. So you're going to need Module 13.3 notes, which you should have got in class on Friday. And we're also going to be filling out this very last section of our foldable. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, let you guys get that stuff out, and then I'll explain what to do next. Alright, so check it out. We're going to fill out this last section of our foldables. This should be the bottom right piece, and we're going to title it Multiplying and Dividing Inequalities. So go ahead and copy that down. Again, it's Multiplying and Dividing Inequalities. Then open it up, and it's just like equations. Identify the coefficient, multiply both sides by the reciprocal. If and only if the reciprocal is negative, you flip the inequality at the very end. So for example, if it's a greater than, it becomes a less than. So go ahead and pause the video, copy down these two examples I've got, and we'll move on shortly. Alright, so here's our first one. This is the first example that you guys have on your notes. And just like we put in the foldable, this is exactly like solving for an equation. So the first thing we want to do is isolate our variable. And so when we're multiplying or dividing, we always multiply by our reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 4 is 1 over 4. And so then I can always put this number over 1. So 4 times 1, 4 and 4 are going to cancel out. 1 and 1 cancel out. And I'm left with x. Bring this down. Whatever I do to the left side, I must also do to the right side. So now I've got to multiply 12 by 1 over 4. And if I go ahead and put 12 over 1, we go numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and we end up with 12 over 4. And we know that whenever we have a fraction, we can divide. So top dog goes in the house, 12 divided by 4. And we end up with x is greater than or equal to 3. All right, so go ahead and copy that down. We're going to graph it in just a second. Okay, so when I read this, it says x is greater than or equal to 3. So what I want to do is first start with my 3. And since I've got the equal sign, that means it's going to be a completely colored in circle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then x is going to be greater. So I want to go to the right so that everything beyond 3, everything greater than 3 could potentially be that variable x. All right, so that's the first example. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one. Okay, so here's example number 2, and we are now dividing, and we've got our variable in the numerator. So once again, when we multiply and divide, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So y is the same as 1y, so the reciprocal is going to end up being 3 over 1. Well, again, these are going to cancel out, and we're left with y is less than or equal to, but I've got to multiply the 6 by the reciprocal, which is 3 over 1. Put 6 over 1. 6 times 3 gives me 18. 1 times 1 gives me 1. So now I've got y is less than or equal to 18 over 1, which we know we can simplify by doing 18 divided by 1, which gives us 18. So our final inequality reads y is less than or equal to 18. And then if I come down here, I've got an equal part again. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in that circle. And y is going to be everything less than or equal. So everything less than 18 or equal to 18. So we would go that way. All right, so there's example number 2. Let's go ahead and check out number 3. All right, so let's check out this example. So we've got negative 3x is less than or equal to 18. So I now know that I am multiplying again, so I've got to multiply by my reciprocal. So I'm going to put negative 3 over 1 and then make this 1 over negative 3. These will cancel out. I'm left with x is less than or equal to 18, but I've also got to multiply this by 1 over negative 3, so put 18 over 1. 18 times 1 is 18. 1 times a negative 3 is negative 3. Now, I just multiplied by a negative reciprocal. So the last step that I just showed you in the foldable was that instead of just dropping this down again, I now have to flip it. Again, I multiplied by a negative reciprocal, so I'm now going to flip my inequality sign. So when I do that, it becomes x is now greater than or equal to 18 divided by negative 3, which is a negative 6. So my final answer becomes x is greater than or equal to negative 6. And now we're going to plot that real quick. So I'm going to start with a negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3. And x is everything greater than or equal to negative 6. So since it's got an equal, we're going to shade in our point, and x is everything greater, so we're going to go to the higher numbers. All right, so that is exactly how you would solve out that problem. All right, guys, let's take a look at this example. I just worked out another one already, so go ahead and follow through it, copy it down. Notice that since I did not multiply by a negative reciprocal, I did not flip my inequality sign. So go ahead and pause the video and copy this example down. Alright, here's another example for you. I've got 25 is less than negative 5x. So I multiply by my reciprocals, get down here, keep solving it. And since my reciprocal is a negative, I've got to flip my inequality at the very end. So go ahead and pause the video now and copy this example down as well. Alright, so here's our next question. We've got negative y over 6 is greater than negative 7. So we're dividing here, so we know that we're going to multiply by our reciprocal. And once again, we know that y is the same as 1y, so our reciprocal becomes 6 over negative 1. These cancel out. We're left with y is greater than negative 7 times the reciprocal, which was 6 over negative 1. So I'm going to put 7 over 1. And then if I solve that out, I've got y is greater than negative 7 times 6 is a negative 42. 1 times a negative 1 is negative 1. Now again, since I multiplied by a negative reciprocal, this inequality sign is going to flip. So when I do that, it now becomes y is less than, and negative 42 divided by negative 1 is going to give me a positive 42, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And then I'm going to go ahead and plot this on my number line. So if I do that, start with a 40, 41, 2, 3. And so y is less than 42. So I'm going to put an open circle because I don't have an equal to. And then it's less than. So everything less than 42 is a potential solution for the variable y. So go ahead and pause that if you need to. And I'll move on to the next example. Alright guys, so here we've got 5 is less than t over 4 multiplied by the reciprocal, which is 4 over 1. 4 over 1, we end up with 20 over 1 is less than t. And then divide 20 by 1 and I get 20 is less than t. Since I do not have a negative reciprocal, I'm not going to flip my inequality. And then here we go, I've got 20, open circle because there's no equal to. And then t is everything greater than 20. So go ahead and pause that if you need to copy this one down. Alright guys, here's the last example. So we've got 10 is greater than or equal to a negative b over 2. So I find my variable and I've got to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2 over negative 1. Multiply 10 by 2 over negative 1. These cancel out over here, leaves me with b. So now I've got 20 over negative 1 is greater than or equal to b. And then I end up simplifying that, getting negative 20 is less than or equal to b. And since I multiply by a negative reciprocal, I then have to flip my inequality sign. And so then when I graph it, negative 20 is equal to or less than b. So b is going to be everything greater than negative 20. Alright, I'm going to put up the last Google Doc question. Make sure you answer it and submit. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy Monday off. We will be here slaving away. So please take care of this, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.